right, Christy, before we hop into your session and go over all the notes that I have for you, I wanted to let you know I pulled you some oracle cards. We're not going to go over them in the session, but I will send you guidebook descriptions and pictures of them, and that'll be a deeper level of messaging. And then I also built you a crystal grid. I asked each one of your chakras what kind of crystals would help with healing and growth, and so I'll send you a picture of that. And then the replay will either be available today or tomorrow, but I will get that to you. Does that all sound okay?
Sounds great.
Perfect. Okay. So I see here the notes that you left me where we want to talk about soul mission, our soul path, soul retrieval, spiritual gifts, or inner child healing.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions in particular, or we just kind of wanted to see what comes up in those different areas?
I'm just interested to see what comes up, and I'm pretty well open. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So, and when we're talking about inner child healing, is that also an area you're just interested to see what comes up, or is there something in particular there that you feel might be an impediment or something that hasn't been able to be fully resolved, or just some heaviness around certain areas or different memories, or is it more so just let's see what happens?
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, because we'll probably dig into some stuff here in a minute once I bring it up. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I went into your energy fields, I saw a woman, and I'm going to close my eyes when I'm relaying this to you, but I saw a woman and she was in this field and she was handling some herbs and what looked like lavender to me. And this is a different incarnation of yours. Okay. So I'll tell you about her story, but I introduced myself and I said, "Hi, I'm Sage." And she said, "Oh, like the plant." I said, yes, she was really excited about that. And she a plant lady. Okay. And I said, yes. And I told her why I was here. And I was asking if she had any advice or guidance for you or could help you with your spiritual gifts. And she said, yeah, I absolutely. And so we started walking back to her house, this kind of farmhouse that she lived in. And I sat at the table with her. And she had this really big bundle of different types of herbs. I don't know if you've ever seen them kind of like in the grocery store where there'd be like an assortment of like eucalyptus and like all these different things. That's kind of what it looked like. And when we were sitting down together, she said, "Can I have your hand?" And I said, "Okay. Yeah. And if you need to check on them or you need to do anything, go ahead."
Wait a minute. Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's absolutely fine. So she said, "Can I see your hand?" And I said, "Okay." And then I handed it to her and she unzipped my hand. And I was like, okay. And you were right. Like I've never seen that before. And it was almost like I was looking into space in my hand. And she said, "Are you scared?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I'm just kind of curious. What are you doing?" Okay. And then she said, "I can see what star constellations you've lived in." I said, "Oh, interesting." Okay. And then when I looked into my hand, I was just seeing, different constellations, like even ones that I haven't lived in necessarily, but just I could see what she was seeing. Right. And she told me that she used to be an astronomer on planet Sirius. Okay. You know about planet Sirius?
Yes, a little.
A little bit. Okay. Yeah. So what she meant though was not her. She was not an astronomer. She actually had a mentor from a past incarnation that taught her. Okay. So via V. Okay. It's also another incarnation of yours. Okay. That's like further back in your Akashic records. But she said that version of her was an astronomer there. And she said, and I said, "Well, how did you, or what are you utilizing this gift for? Like, how did you learn how to read people's constellations?" And she said, "I combined my own knowledge with my mentors." I said, "Okay." And then all of a sudden we astral projected somewhere. I was like, "Where the heck are we?" Because I've never seen this before. And she said, "We are inside someone's DNA structuring, like a client that she had worked with in the past." And it was like this big giant room. Like imagine like when you think of like DNA, you think of something like very tiny and minuscule, but when we were in the DNA sequencing of this person, like it was massive, like huge, vast. Okay. Almost like its own dimension. Okay.
That's cool.
Yes. And she said that the way that she was utilizing her gifts of kind of like astral projecting into people's energy fields and more specifically within their DNA sequencing is that because she was a plant lady and a lover of herbs, she was able to view into people's, again, their energy fields, DNA sequencing, and see what type of herbs would be best suited to help their human here, to help them heal. Okay. And so
Okay.
she told me that she was, and I said, oh, what, are you human? Okay. And she said, I am a human. And I said, what time period are you from? I was like, are you from the future? And she said, no, I'm actually from the 1800s. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, that's so interesting. I was like, something here is not adding up. I was like, what were y'all doing this in the 1800s? And she said, okay, first of all, and she was real funny, but she was like, first of all, there's been lots of people throughout history that are very advanced, not just, even if we're living in like caveman time periods. Okay. And I was like, oh,
Right.
you got me there. Okay. And she said that she was a channeler. Like she could channel other like cosmic galactic beings, and in doing her own work on self, she so happened to come across this other incarnation of hers and then started channeling from them, and then that being helped her like expand her gifts and knowledge. So she was helping people during that time period without them knowing kind of what she was doing. Like she was speaking with their higher selves, obviously, right? But it was giving very much like witch type of energy, right? So she was very cautious about the way that she was helping people. She was like, I'm a holistic healer, or whatever that term was in the 1800s. Okay. So she didn't get kind of like persecuted for things, but her gifts were like so far advanced. Okay. So she had to be really mindful of what she shared with people. Okay. Let me rewrite it right here. Okay. She said that in you working with them, these are things that you can learn how to do.
Okay.
Okay. So tell me a little bit. I should ask this at the beginning, but tell me a little bit about your energy healing abilities in this incarnation. What's going on there?
It's it's kind of crazy because I've always been interested in spiritual, but I was born and raised Pentecost.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all, yeah, no, that's all the devil,
Mm-hmm.
But we moved from Hawaii to Idaho, and we moved into a home that I don't believe in coincidences. So it was destined for me to be there. But we moved in this house, and it just felt weird. Something wasn't right. I felt people there, but I couldn't explain it. So I would tell my husband, I was like, there's somebody here. And he's, no, there's not. No, there's not. Well, I had a lady a good friend of mine that lived a couple houses down, and she was a yoga teacher. And she said, I would like for you to come to one of my classes. And I was like, no, I don't do yoga.
Okay.
I just don't. And I ended up going, and that session changed my life because midway through, I just sat Indian style and was just crying uncontrollably, just not even able to breathe. And it was at a Reiki studio, and the lady came over there and said, "Would you like for me to do a session on you?" I said, "I can't even drive right now. I mean, there's no way." I mean, I was just in pieces. And after that session, it was kind of like I woke up. It was such immense joy. I had never felt that way because I come from a really, really, really sexually, mentally, physically abused home. So I mean, I left home at 15.
Wow.
And so I mean, all of them emotions and feelings was coming. And whenever I got back home, it was almost as if there was a different person come home. I could feel, I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. And come to find out, we lived in the house. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Lori Daybell or Chad Daybell's case. Well, we lived in the townhome of where 2 kids got killed.
Oh.
And one night, well, it happened a couple times, but I would be sleeping, and my husband would jar me awake because I was screaming. In my dream, I was screaming, but there was nothing coming out. And he said, "Oh, yes, it was. The neighbors, everybody heard it, on multiple occasions, but it was like something was holding me down, but I couldn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went from that to I could sense things there. So the paranoia just got so bad.
Okay.
I told my husband, I was like, I think I need help. I think that
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally losing my mind. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, no, you're not. No, you're not. So I put cameras in my room just to prove to myself that I wasn't. And I caught stuff on the cam.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in the shower, and it was like, you know how whenever you just sense somebody there, but they're not there?
Yes.
But I looked down, and we had a glass shower door, and it was a perfect silhouette of a man's face just leaned up against my shower door. So I jump out and I start taking pictures. And then I went and I said, okay, so I've done tons of research. I got every chart known to mankind, done. And I said, okay, so I think that I need to do a soul retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
So I called a lady I thought was legit, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well at
Okay.
all, because right after the soul retrieval, she said, in the soul retrieval, she kept trying to rush me out, and something kept pushing me to go back to this life that there was a wagon, and I was standing at the back side of the wagon. I had curly grayish salt and pepper hair and this black dress, kind of ragged, and there was a guy was walking toward me, and he gave me something, and I put it around my neck. I never seen his face, but what he gave me was a symbol that I dreamt of, and I've never been able to find the symbol again.
Mm-hmm.
And but there was something about it, and then it switched over to me standing in a field, and there was 6 or 7 guys in black capes with it was kind of red on the inside, and they
Mm-hmm.
were walking toward me, and I'm standing there, and I almost feel like I was a healer, but something went wrong, and or something. Well, they come up and they stab me in my right side.
Mm-hmm.
So I died. But the whole point of the story was, it was something about she needed to go to the sanctuary to be healed. There was, I mean, it was so strong of a feeling that her. It wasn't even so much the child part of me, but it was like it was all geared toward her in this pendant. And she just kept trying to force me out of it. So needless to say, we got out of it, and that was probably 4 months after that was the worst 4 months, I think, of my entire life. It was just horrible. And then finally I found a group of ladies that went into my soul star, and I mean, I just quit doing everything. I quit messing with anything spiritual. It was just it was a dark night of the soul times 100. It was just so bad. I was just ready to give up on life and didn't even understand why. It was just there. And but I went through a bunch of past life regression, hypnosis. I ended up going to a counselor and said, okay, so we need to figure out what all is going on in this head. And the session was supposed to last an hour. And needless to say, the session ended up, she brought me to 3 hours and 28 minutes later and said I couldn't stop. And she was just bawling, crying. And I said, what happened? Did something go wrong? And she said, no, I've just never had it. I've been doing this for 26 years, and I've never had a client that just kept going and going and going. She said, I am so sorry. And I said,
What does she mean by keep going? Like, were you under hypnosis and she was, and you were like,
it was,
relaying information?
She said it was just like one bad story behind the other. And And I've went back in, I've listened to probably half of the first session and just refused to listen to the other half. But I've always been able to be in a situation and just remove myself from it. You know, my physical form is still there. And whenever I was talking to her our last session, I said, you know, I'm not understanding why I don't remember all of these things. And she said, because it, you know, she said, I'm not into the woo-woo stuff. She said, but from what I've learned, you have got the ability to actually astral travel your body, your soul out of your physical being and be somewhere else. And you not even realize it. And I was like, well, I would sure like to remember these things, you know. So, but yeah, it's been a very interesting 2 years.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well let's talk about that. Okay.
Sorry,
No. It was supposed to get like things like that when you start pouring out like they're supposed to. That means you feel safe to like talk about it. So that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So and that also kind of explains some of your inner children's fears that were coming up when I was explaining to them this gift that you'll be able to do, like if that is so you're choosing, which we're gonna get into that in just a second. Which also makes sense with you being able to astral project within people's energy bodies and within their physical bodies. So you are that makes sense because that's not like some type of like that's an advanced astral projection right? To be able to project into
Well,
people's
I wish I knew how to
DNA.
do it, right?
Yes, to be able to go into people's DNA sequencing. Okay. Okay. So I was like, oh wow, okay. So okay. So when you had the first past life regression with this healer, okay. So what was she trying to force you to do?
You know, she went into a couple of my childhood traumas, which is a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was one in particular that I remembered whenever I woke up. Was I was laying in the bed and I was fearful for the closet, and she told me, she said, well, you need to tell her that it's safe, that she's safe, that she can get up. And as I'm telling the younger me that, the younger me just is just frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was that moment that I remembered that very moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said she's not. And she said, well, we have to pick her up and we have to bring her. So I went to
Wait,
pick
bring
her
her
up
where? Bring her where?
to the sanctuary for healing.
Okay.
And so excuse me. So we did that. I mean, I went to pick her up and she was just steady screaming, the closet, the closet. I never had baby dolls. I only had paper dolls, right? So, and I had one teddy bear that my grandfather had given me, and my stepdad would use that. He would hide that in the closet, and I was fearful of the closet. So I really don't know how, but I had told her, I said, the closet, the closet. And she said, well, let's go in the closet. And whenever she opened the closet door, it was just like a strong wind come out. And it just felt dark, dark, dark. So she said, we're going to shoot a bunch of light in. And we ended up leaving there. I'm sure that there was a lot more that I missed, but I told her, I said, no, I said, we have to go back. We have to go back, not to this life. It was it was another life, and it was just an intense feeling that we needed to go back there where the traveler excuse me, had given me the pendant. It was something about this pendant, and she just never would let me go back. She just kept saying, well, no, the time's up, we need to go, we need to leave, we need to go, we need to go back to the sanctuary. And it was like that was never completed, right? It was like So finally, I just
Yeah,
refused.
she may not have been equipped to handle the situation.
I don't think she
Yeah,
was.
so maybe, you know, in
Yeah.
her best, in both of y'all's best interest, she was like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Which it could have made it worse if you're going
Yeah.
into it and you're not equipped to do something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I give her a little heads up prior to. I said, this is not for the for the faint of heart. I just feel, and she said, no, 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 I have been doing this for years. There is no case that I can't handle.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
she was pretty confident, but I think that whenever she did go in, she bit off a little bit more than what she could chew, and she was just
Right. There's levels. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you may have seen a lot of things, but maybe not to that like
yeah,
extent of whatever that was. Okay.
yeah.
So let's here. Okay. So um have you gleaned any more information about that timeline and why okay, let me say some stuff first because your higher self is like, let me do this. So there's something in your soul contract in this incarnation where you have kind of like vowed, but not maybe as strongly as a vow, it's just something that you want to do, is to clear out a lot of karmic rollover things. Okay. Not karma. I
Okay,
want to heal as much in my Akasha field as I possibly can. Okay. So you have an abundance of because you know how to astral project. This makes it even more intensive. Okay. Because you can just astral
yeah.
project into different timelines a lot easier than most people can. Okay. So, okay.
Okay,
So, and a lot of this stuff is unconsciously being done as well because your human hasn't caught up to your gifts yet. Does that make sense? Okay. So
perfect
there's a
sense.
lot of turmoil that's going on. You're like, what the heck? Why am I feeling this? Okay.
Yeah, I totally. You know what? I
Yeah.
feel everything you're
Okay.
saying. So
Yes. We don't have all the tools and resources yet to handle these things. Okay. So because you have created this vow of, hey, I'm going to clear up a lot of this stuff, it's overloading your human because you don't have all the tools and resources yet to handle the workload that you have put on yourself. Okay.
right.
So a self-discovery question that I would ask self, like for you, is one, why do I think it's my responsibility, my personal responsibility to heal all these different timelines? Because it's not. Because
Right.
first of all, there's a lot of other healers, and just like we're seeing here, like with the woman with the herbs. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of other healers that could be distributed to.
Okay.
So we probably need to be checking within us if we have some type of savior complex or some type of martyr complex, which could be deeply rooted in needing to prove one's own worth. And that might be coming from childhood stuff, but it also might be coming from like, hey, I don't want to take all this stuff with me into the next incarnation, but you also
Mhm.
don't have to. Like a lot of those timelines that you have access to are not relevant to your incarnation.
Right.
Like, yes, to your soul as a whole, but there's lots of other timelines that can help with those things. Like, if you tell all of you, okay, sometimes when I'm working with mediums that have access to people who have passed on to the other side, they get bombarded with spirits. And I'm like, you have to set up energetic boundaries. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you want to, or doesn't mean that you should.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
so if you were telling all your different timelines, like your higher awarenesses, okay, or the contract that you made before you got here, and you're saying, I'm open for business, all in every timeline that wants to come forward, and I will help you. But but you don't have all the tools and resources yet. So
Right.
it's like, so like, hey,
Yeah.
and then you at the same time have kind of, and I'm going to say this in the most gracious way. Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Lay it on me.
You have kind of been accelerating that tenfold by searching for the different timelines as well. Like actively, like, let me do all these like regressions and like all these different things. And at the
Yeah.
same time, not having the tools and resources like, what do I do with this now? And so it's a bunch of like, and you're also, it sounds like you're kind of like honing in on specific, like there's a lot of timelines that have been great and wonderful and beautiful and amazing and magical, but you're like, let me find the most traumatic ones that I
Yes,
possibly can. Okay. But if you're
that's
doing,
true.
right, but if you're doing that, if your perceptual lens is only on the traumatic ones and you don't have the tools and resources, you don't get tools and resources from the traumatic ones. They're traumatic because they didn't have the tools and resources either. So
Right.
you're not helping yourself, and you're not helping them either. Okay. So so we need to, it's all about intentionality too. Like if we're constantly going in and say, like, I want to heal, I want to heal, I want to heal, like show me all the trauma, show me all the PTSD. Like that's very integral and we love that. But there's also needing to be some perceptual awareness about ones that are going to help us have more tools and resources to handle those things.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the timeline that's coming forward today. This is all what we're going to talk about. This is all positive. This is all fun. This is all magical. Okay. And it's going to help you with whatever timelines that you want to help, or human beings that you want to help with. But there's some type of martyr savior thing running of like, I got to heal all of them in this lifetime because I don't want to continue this in the future. Just because you have a lot of, and everybody does, but just because you have a lot of deep-seated trauma and PTSD and other incarnations does not mean that those are going to all roll over and affect you in the next timeline.
Right.
Like why are we thinking that's going to happen? Why, like that
Right.
there's a energetic cord of propensity of like, hey, I'm going to keep getting slammed in the face with this every single time. And maybe that's what your soul has asked in these different timelines as well. It's like, hey, like just give it to me in every single one, right? And
That
maybe,
sounds like something I would do.
okay. And when we are searching for things, we get more of it. So if we are like, hey, hit me with all the trauma and the PTSD, then you're just going to continue to keep finding those.
Right.
Unless we shift the perspective lenses of like, okay, can you just give me like a little bit of that at a time, and also throw in like tools and resources and magic and fun and like some things, okay? Because
Yes.
you are an infinite being, okay?
Right.
There's no reason for you to have to try and clear out 150 timelines in one incarnation. That's
Yeah.
just going to keep you in destitution and misery. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And I fully understand why you're wanting to do that. I'm kind of talking to your oversoul, or no, your oversoul, your higher awareness, the one that
Right.
contracted here. Like, I fully understand why you want to do that. But you are a human being. If you were living in some other type of planetary system where things were a little bit easier, okay, because it's already kind of hard enough to be a human sometimes, maybe
Yes.
we could take on a little bit more workload. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is a lot. Okay. And your human went through their own trauma and PTSD, which you probably have some things that still need to be healed in those arenas. It's not serving your inner children or teens to have all this other stuff bombard them and supersede what they need to work through.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I'm not saying
Yeah.
not to continue to do like past life regressions and all these things, but you have autonomy over your body and your soul contract, right? So you might need to do some rewriting here and say, I'm not going to seek out those right now. I
And you
need
know,
I need more grounding. I need more tools.
yeah.
I need more resources. I need to focus more on my inner children. If a incarnation that wants to come through that is able to mentor me or guide me or help me heal, that is what I need right now. I do not want to be a mentor. I do not want to be a guide to these other timelines. I am not in the right chapter of life for that right now. I need support. And you probably need to check your own wounds around accepting support.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've raised 8 kids, so
And letting your incarnations that could be guides and mentors, like it's coming through today,
right.
help you instead of you always being the one to help these other timelines.
Right.
Okay. What comes up for you when I say all of that?
It makes me think of a session that I had with a light worker. It was like one of my first sessions, and she had told me that she had seen me in a desert, and the ground was cracked. And she said it's odd because your arms and feet are bound, but there's dandelions growing around your feet. And
Mm-hmm.
she said, so let's see if we can remove these vines. And she called in the angels, and she said that lightning that she heard no, and lightning struck, and it struck in my head, and it scarred the ground. She said, so we're gonna go and try to do it another way. So we ended up doing that session, and then the next session was she said, okay, well, I had a thorn in my right side. She said, so we're gonna go ahead and remove that. And the vines were growing up. So the second session, she said, so now we're gonna try to remove remove the vines, and then we're gonna try to remove the vines. And she kind of stepped back for a minute, and she said, and I said, so tell me, don't make me sit here. And she said, well, she said, there is a elf that just walked in with a key around his neck, and he said he's been waiting 1,000 years to do this. And she asked, why was I bonded? And he said, because she did it to herself, and she trusted me with the key or something or other. But that's what that makes me think of. And it's funny because I haven't even been interested after my last regression session, probably 6 months ago or a year ago. I haven't even given it a second thought. I'm done with it. I'm done. I just need
because there's so much trauma.
Yeah, I just need now.
Yeah. I think that, and soul contracts are very malleable. Like it's, you might have decided that you want to do something, but you can change that at any time. Like it's up to you, right? So
I'm just ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, what are we ready for?
You know what? It's not that I want to understand. I want to know. I don't know. It's kind of hard to even put it to words without sounding greedy or selfish, or
it won't sound that way to me. You can say,
I just want to understand. I want to know my purpose. I want to fulfill my purpose. Whenever I was 3, well, this probably has nothing to do with it, but as a punishment, my stepfather had punished me, and it ended up ending as to death. I ended up dying. I was 3 or 4, or almost 4. And but it was like, I lived all this life. I've raised 8 kids.
oh, wow.
And now it's kind of like, okay, so what am I to do now? What is my purpose now? I feel like I fulfilled my duties, right?
Yeah, but what is it that I came here to do? Like what's part of the plan? Yes. Okay. I would also say you've probably been putting yourself on the back burner for a really long time to like help other people, and that's kind of resonant with the timelines as well. So okay. So part of this, for you to even have enough energy to do what you want to do in this incarnation, is we need to be okay with letting go of some of those timelines and that martyrdom. Okay, it's not martyrdom, but that's the best word that I can think of. Okay, of like, well, now I got to put them above me.
Right.
Like, okay, that lady with the necklace is another representor of a timeline that is reaching out to you. If you do not help her, somebody else will.
Okay.
That's not your responsibility.
Okay.
It like, I get it. I like, if somebody's reaching out to us for help, of course we want to help them, whether they are a different incarnation or a different human. But if you are already busted down and you don't have the tools and resources, right?
Yeah.
Then we need to ask, and you can do this. You can say, you can ask your oversoul, or you can ask your higher awareness, can you direct them to somebody else in my Akasha fields?
Okay.
Because you're not the best person for them. Because you can't help them right now. You don't have, and you will have as you ascend, right? But you don't have those things right now. So it's not certain. Send her to somebody else in your Akashic field, because you have other healers in there,
Yeah.
right? We need to focus on us for a little while.
Yeah.
And getting back us into alignment and doing, you know, like you said, like your soul mission and the things that are going to bring you joy and happiness and all these different things. Okay. Because there will come a point where you do have tools and resources to help these different timelines. Okay. But we can't make it a miserable experience, because then we're not going to want to do it when we get to that point, because
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So, well, let's talk a little bit more about this gift.
Okay.
Okay. And then I can see now why there were some correlations about your inner kids not wanting to do it. Okay. Okay. So okay. So she said that she's a channeler. Okay. And she was able to speak with the Syrian guide. Now, when you go in meditation, or however that you like to connect to these different facets of self, whether it is a guided meditation or however you do this, okay, they will help mentor you if you want with these gifts. They will teach you. Okay. So what you were able to do, because you also have your own abilities, like they have theirs, but you have yours. Okay. So she told me you are able to go into people's DNA sequencing in their energy fields.
Okay.
And you know what star seeds? I use that term loosely because we're all star seeds. Okay. Well, this is Earth.
Yeah.
Earth people are also star seeds. Okay.
Yeah.
But
that's another chart that I got done.
Okay.
Girl, if I didn't get 100 charts done, I didn't get one, because I wanted to understand.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Okay. So you have like Mintaka and Sirius and Pleiadians and like all these different things. Okay. So as we are on this ascension journey, there are going to be a lot of people who want to bring forward their starseed DNA and merge it with their human existence.
Okay.
Okay. Because that stuff is from previous incarnations. Okay. They're previous lifetimes, or, you know, it's all kind of concurrently running at one time, but we refer to them as past lives. Okay. So oftentimes that DNA is not compatible with their human DNA because it's so vastly more advanced. And so a lot of these humans are not able to access certain gifts within themselves, or different type of technologies, or different type of cosmic history. Like they're just kind of blocked because it's not copacetic. Okay. So your higher self said that you are able to look into their DNA and see what type of frequencies that they need in order to upgrade their systems. And what I saw you doing was creating this kind of webbing while you're in there. It's so funny that you had, did you mention spiders earlier? The webs?
Yes, it was like the roots just spidered out.
Yes. And what I saw was like this almost kind of like webbing, but it was like light, and you were able to connect it into whatever star system that they needed from their like home planets, and pull down the exact frequencies that they needed in order to give them these upgrades. Okay. And she said what you will be able to do once you get a little bit more advanced in that is, she called it coding sequencings. So the more that you do this with people, okay, there are certain people on the planet that have, well, lots of us do, but there's multiples of different star systems they've been from. Like let's say take somebody that's from like Sirius and Mintaka and then Lemuria. Okay. So the more frequencies that you pull in, you're creating almost like this encyclopedia within yourself. And then you're going to be able to, what she said for the human terminology is, build these number sequencing. And have like building blocks that form together. And then you were able to just give somebody these like symbols or these numbers, like literally like in the human scape, you'd be like, okay, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and hand it to them, and then them get the upgrade from that.
That's cool.
But not just she said you can do it with numbers because that's going to be easier for people as human to like integrate, but then eventually it's going to become symbols. So you'll just give somebody a line of symbols. And you're like, okay, these are all the frequencies that you need. And they give it to their human, and they just read it off like this piece of paper. And then it starts encoding that into their system. Okay. I was like, oh, that's super cool. I haven't seen this before.
That is cool.
Okay. And she said once you, and she referred to it kind of like a locker combination. Like you have to like dial it correctly and then it'll clink open. So same thing here. And she said once you get to the coding level where you're able to work with the numbers and the symbols, it will be a lot less work on your actual physical and energetic body. Like it's going to take a lot more effort for you to do this at first, but then once you get to that level, it's going to be like so incredibly easy for you to do. Okay. Okay.
I like that.
Yes. Okay. So when I asked if there was any inner children that were hesitant about this gift, because I could feel them in there, one of or several of your inner children said, I don't want to see beings. I do not want to see them. Okay.
You
And
see,
I said,
I do.
well, you might want to, but okay, but they were like, I don't want to see that because it's scary. And I said, and the pictures that they were showing me were like scary pictures. So that could be from like programming, from movies, from television shows. That could have been from different, because you have access to these different timelines, you might be perceiving these things that seem very scary because your inner children haven't seen things like that before. So you just have all this influx of information. They're like, what is all of that? Right. So there's this kind of like disconnect. Okay. So
Okay.
that's gonna be something that you'll continue to need to work on with them. Okay. But they said, I don't want to see beings. I said, you don't have to see beings for this gift.
Yeah.
I said, this is all about frequencies. This is healing frequencies. Like there's no beings that need to be seen in order for you to utilize this. And they're like, okay. Okay.
That sounds like me. Yep.
Yes. And they were like, okay, as long as I don't have to see any with this. And I said, okay. So this would be probably a really good gift to utilize to be a bridge waypoint for them as well, to make it seem not so scary. Like, hey, we can connect with these higher frequencies, the cosmic frequencies, galactic frequencies, and get used to those before we start seeing more beings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of
That
like
was one of the things that I wanted was to channel and to be a medium. Yeah. A
yes.
healer, yeah, but more of a because
Oh, you can. Oh, this gift, because you're going to be able to connect into all these different star systems once you do a little bit more healing with the inner children and teens around that kind of stuff, and telling your energy field, I don't want information that I can't see my inner children to be seeing.
Yeah.
Because they have much like wider perceptual awareness than you do as an adult. And so you might need to set up a boundary within yourself of like, if I don't see it, they don't need to see it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, just be like, they cannot perceive anything that I do not check at the door first as the adults. Okay, so set up that boundary first. Okay, because I can see where they're seeing into these different timelines and it's scaring them. Nothing super like scary. It's just if you've never seen anything like that before, and then you as the adult aren't seeing it, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So just being like, no, I'm gonna check everything at the door from now on before y'all can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but you will be able to, like, when you do get a little bit more advanced in this gift, it'll be like a hop, skip, and jump for you to be able to see Syrians and Lyrans and Lumerians and all these different things, because you've already imbued your energetic field with all of the different frequencies from the different planetary systems. So that'll be very easy once you do feel more comfortable and safe with allowing them to be seen.
Oh, I'm excited. I am just
okay. The second part to this is because this is not necessarily like a medical thing, the gift that you have, but it can be seen in that light as a child. And one of your inner children showed me something they didn't show me the exact picture, but they showed me where something scary either happened to you as a child medically, or they saw something on television, or maybe you watch scary things about medical things. There's something with like doctors and nurses and being forced to do things that they did not want to do. Now, obviously, when you are a child, like I'll give you an example. Okay. So I had this petrifying fear of needles. Because when I was 5, I went to the health department and I had to get some shots and I did not want to get them. And the lab techs held me down in this chair while my grandmother was watching, and I'm screaming and they're giving me these shots, and it created a lot of PTSD and trauma in my body, and also mistrust with doctors, and like all like that was a whole thing, right? So sometimes what we're perceiving as non-traumatic is very traumatic to a child, okay? And the energy that they were giving me was not necessarily like forced maliciously, but there was some trauma point in there of like, I don't want to be forced to do something, and I don't want to force other people. And so I was explaining to this child specifically, hey, this gift is not representative of this at all. I said, this has nothing to do with any of that type of dynamic. I said, also, we are asking permission of this person's higher self and this person. Like if this is something that we end up doing in sessions, they are welcoming us doing this. And I said, let me explain to you what the benefits of this would be. Okay. Because when she was seeing the medical stuff, she was like, scary, scary, scary. I said, okay, when you help people with this gift, you're going to be able to help them live longer, activate their own gifts and abilities from different star planets, help them remember their homes, their star homes, help them connect to different timeline versions of themselves, and bring advancements onto this planet that we haven't seen before. She was like, oh, I can do that. I said, yes. Okay. I said, that's all we're doing with this. Okay. And then she was much more happier about that. But in your own time, right, that would be something that I would more deeply explore, whether it's something that actually happened to you or maybe it's a memory. Okay. Okay. You do know what it is. Okay.
It was the incident whenever I had died, because they had to put a skin graft. My stepfather made me stand in fire ants, as a punishment for crying because my mother left.
Oh my
And
God.
whenever she come home later on that evening, I was running a real high fever and my foot was swole real big from the poison from the fire ants. And I didn't remember this until I was sitting there. I had just got through meditating and I was just sitting there thinking about it. And I was like, just in order for me to heal, I have to remember what I have to heal from. And it was like I was looking through a kaleidoscope. It just kind of zoomed in, and I seen myself at 3 or 4, and I seen me standing in this pile of ants, and I was crying, and he was standing in the doorway, and he finally, whenever she left, let me go in. A whole lot more happened, but to cut the story short, whenever she come home, she had picked me up and she took me to her neighbor's house, and her neighbor said, oh my God, you're gonna have to do something. You need to soak that in Epsom salt water. And she said, well, all I have is table salt. And they soaked my foot in table salt water, and when they did, the iodine reacted to the poison and it caused me to go into convulsions. And I see myself laying on this countertop, and I remembered, because I don't have a relationship with mother, and she never would tell me the story behind it. And all of a sudden I see myself just start shaking and it just goes black. So I finally called her and I was like, hey, I don't want to have a conversation. I just want to tell you something and you validate it or tell me that I'm wrong. And she started crying and she said, how do you know that? How do you remember that? I said, I just seen it. She said, there's no way, because I repeated every word that each one of them said. And she said, you was only 3.5, almost 4. There's no way that you could I didn't remember it. I literally seen it, know. And
did you die? Did you die and come back into your body?
Yes, I died.
Okay, so you saw yourself and then you came back into okay.
Well, I died. They said that I died for 8 minutes. They had already put the sheet over, and they come in to, I guess, see me the last time, and they seen that I was breathing. And then, yeah, I mean, it was just, but that would be the the trauma, you know. But now
Yeah.
I don't believe that you have to remember to heal. You know,
You do,
that
yeah,
that
yeah. I mean, it depends kind of like what it is. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's very like contextual. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can just go in like with that, like with that little girl. That's a lot of trauma remnants. That's one you probably
Well,
did need to remember because that's tied with probably a lot of different things with your
makes
spiritual gifts. I also
yeah.
think that like without digging too far into it, I think that that incident has something to do with that vow that you spoke over your timeline of like I'm so tired of horrific trauma things happening. I need to clear these things out. Like that there's some type of like cord with this contract in her. Like once you came up out, it was like, okay, I'm gonna come in and like just try and like clear out as much of this stuff as I possibly can. Probably because you had been hurt so incredibly deeply. Sometimes that is our fuel to become healers,
Yeah.
right? Or to like do these things, or you've been healers in other timelines. But sometimes we take on these like massive forms of responsibility that it's not all our responsibility.
Right. That makes sense.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that happened.
You know, I think that that just made me who I am today. It I don't know. It's strange because it's like a feeling of knowing this is not the only time, right? That
Mhm.
you lived here or you've lived a life. Because I spoke with many people and they was like, I don't believe in past lives. I said, I said, I've always known that
Yeah.
there was something more. I
Mhm.
just couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and whenever you said the trauma, that was a trauma, but I think the trauma from the doctors would be the skin graft that they had to do on my foot. So that made perfect sense. I mean,
Yeah, it's
that
just
just felt right.
it wasn't exactly like forced medical, but it was
Yeah,
like we had to do something to you and it was giving very much like we have to do this, right?
yeah,
And so she has been a little bit trepidatious about, or just not she, but like these other versions of yourself have been a little bit trepidatious because DNA reconfiguration is the ultimate alteration. Okay.
well, that
Like
may
that is
explain why that may
okay.
explain why I never go to the doctor now. I mean,
Yeah,
ever.
okay. But that is one of the ultimate alterations, okay? And I was trying to
Yeah.
explain to her like all of the wonderful benefits and that nobody is coordinated. Like the persons who would be coming to you for this are 1,000,000% aware of the wonderful benefits and that they trust you and that they know that you are coming from the highest light in doing this and they have already without even their human their higher selves have already like it is 1,000,000% consensual and something that they're going to be really happy with and is going to help them in their lives and it's just going to help everybody in the collective. Like I said,
That makes me happy.
this is a really spectacular gift to help people with. But it's giving that she doesn't want or these other facets don't want what has happened to you to happen to others. And I said that will never happen. That is not you. And at the same token, okay, the things that happen to you are not because of the doctors. They're not
Yeah.
because it's because of your horrific relationship with your father that did that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we probably need to do, or when I say we, okay, you and your
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
self and your children need to do some work around defragmenting those memories and explaining to them like it's not the doctors, it's not the nurses, it's not, this all thing that happened. Like it's because of this person
Hmm.
that has nothing to do with us and will never have anything to do with us. We don't have a malicious bone in our body.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So
Makes
just
sense. Makes perfect
explaining
sense.
explaining that to them. Okay. Um, So some things that we can do to progress this gift, if this is something that you want to do, okay? One, this has a multitude of layers. Like if you want to get into astronomy and learn how to read different star planets, like there's a million different things that you could do with this. Okay, it's not just this, because you have two mentors that can help you with it, and they have
Okay.
their own disabilities. Okay, but there is a woman called Source Energetics, and I'm going to send you her information. And she has a 24-day DNA activation series that is really geared towards star seed perceivability. So I'm going to send you all of those. It's like a YouTube playlist.
Okay.
Listening to different star languages, like
Okay.
different type of light language, like Syrian light language or Pleiadian light language, like that is going to vastly help you open
I've
up the
just
channels and
started.
connect. Okay, yay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But it's hard to find them because I've got trust issues, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's hard to find the ones that are are legit and you feel okay, safe with.
Well, I'm
So
going to be sending you some.
okay.
Okay. So there's one woman who does she channels 33 different star languages in this 3-part series. If you listen to that, that will help. Now, not every practitioner is going to resonate with you. You could listen to one person doing Syrian language and not like that, and then another person is great. It doesn't have anything to do with you or the practitioner. It's not the right frequency for you. So if something doesn't feel right in your body, even the things that I send you, that's not for you. Don't listen to it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
There's I love fairy light language, but I'll listen to some and I'm like, oh, this is not for me. Okay, it don't have anything to do with that person. It's just we're not on the right frequency. Okay.
Right.
So I'm gonna send you those. Researching about different starseed lineages like the Pleiadians, Mintakans, Lemurians, all these different things, that's gonna help you as well. Okay.
Okay.
This is not a gift that you have to be super wildly diligent about tutelage and studying. This is something that is going to download in its own time, but you do have to kind of like meet it halfway. Like we do need to like do these things. Like, okay, let me learn about different star languages, different star seeds. Let me listen to these DNA upgrades. Like all the other stuff that you need will start downloading in, and then making time in meditation to talk to these two mentors, the astronomer from Sirius, okay, and the woman who likes to wear the plant lady, okay, because they will give you more information, okay, and at the same time, speaking to your inner children and helping them continue to get used to like, hey, it's okay if we're seeing things that are different from us, but I will not allow anything else to come into my field until I see it first. I won't allow y'all to see that. Even if it's unicorns and fairies and dragons and all this stuff, we need to check it for them. Okay. Okay. And you don't have enough energy right now to even get into its full totality, because so much of your consciousness has been being taken up with these open channels to different timelines, trying to find all these trauma points. So we need to speak over self like, hey, we need to readjust my soul contract.
Okay.
I know I said I want to do this, but
But
this is not time right now, okay? or at least let's check back in a little bit later when I have some more tools and resources. Okay.
Yeah.
You can also
just tell them we was tricking them. We really don't want to do it.
Okay. Well, sometimes we get into something and we're like, oh, I don't actually want to be doing this anymore. Okay. So if you do decide to do any type of past life regression moving forward or anything like that, set your intention of, I want to find teachers or mentors or guides, or if they can help me heal, or if they can help me with my spiritual gifts. But I need to put a pause on helping other timelines reaching out to me, unless my higher self and my higher awareness is bringing this person to me so that I can up level my gifts. Because you might have a time, let's just hypothetically, you might have a timeline come forward that's trying to contact you that needs help with DNA activations, and you can ask for projectants them, right? So in that instance, like, okay, that's going to serve us because it's helping us in this incarnation with the gift.
Right.
Right? Something that you feel comfortable helping them with. Okay. If a different timeline in a different you do past life and something else and they come forward and you're like, I don't have the tools and resources for this, ask your higher self, please send them to a different timeline version of me that is available to help them.
Okay.
Or sometimes like when I'm doing sessions with people, they're coming to me for something in the 3D, but on the back end, I'm actually helping one of their other timelines with something. So it doesn't even have to be help from you in your other timelines. Like
Right.
there's a million other practitioners, healers out there that they can find via doing things, right? Like you're not the only one. Okay. So checking your own vow at the door of like, I have to be the savior for everybody, which is probably the programming that you've been running in your human 3D as well. And so we just
Yeah.
need to release that cosmically too. And that does not make us a bad person. It doesn't mean that and sometimes we're worried if we don't do that, that we're not going to be able to grow and expand and accelerate at the rate that we want. Because it's like, okay, well, if I have all these other timelines, then, whatever. But you also have to couple that with having the correct tools and resources to be able to even help and integrate that stuff. So it's okay if you just focus on you for right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not getting so overwhelmed. Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions about any things that we talked about?
No, I'm just excited. What was the herb?
The herb that she was originally working with? When I saw
Well, that she said that would help.
would help other people?
No, would help me with my. Didn't you ask what herb could I use?
Oh no, what she was doing with the herbs, okay, back in like the 1800s was she had like this big farm that had lots of different herbs on it, and she was creating tonics, and she was creating what's the other word she said? Hold on, let me see what she wrote here. She said tonics and maybe I didn't write that down. Okay. Different type of salves and different type of tonics that she was selling to people, right? Or like giving to people to help them heal. But it's because she was able to see into their DNA sequencing. And she said that specific herbs can help you with rewiring things. And so that was one of the gifts that she has.
That's what I've been researching is the herbs and so that makes perfect sense.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's probably why you're drawn to that then. She's like, okay, let me go ahead and give you this information. Okay. Because you're gonna meet me one day. Okay. So even if that's something that you want to enfold into your when you're reading people's energetic fields and you're in their DNA like this, and this is not something that you even have to like you're going to figure out how to do this. It's when I'm doing things like this for people, I'm doing them in real time and I'm not having to do this like, okay, well, let me sit down and get in this deep meditative state and like do all these things. It's just information that's popping up very quickly, very quickly. And I'm like doing these things on the etheric realms. Okay.
Right.
So the more herbs that you are cataloging either on the 3D human plane or in the etheric realms, you can call on those things in the ethers. They don't actually have to be physical plants.
Okay.
Does that make sense? If you get in somebody's field and you're like, oh, I really feel like chamomile will help them. Okay.
Yeah.
You can call on the energy form of chamomile to be put into their field. It doesn't always have to be the physical application. She was utilizing the physical application as like these people didn't even need these herbs. Okay. This is back in the 1800s though. And if you don't give somebody something physically, they're going to be like, oh, you're a witch. Okay. So this was just her like bridgeway point over. Okay. Cause she could do the same thing. And the really amazing thing too, is if you really want to go down that herbology timeline like that, when you start connecting into these different star planets, they have their own herbs that are not even from Earth. Okay. There's all these, like, I love whenever I go into somebody's field and I find different plants and animals that I've never seen before. And same thing, I'm able to call on these things in other people's sessions. So you can actually catalog like galactic plants to help with persons as well.
Oh, that is so exciting.
She can help you with that.
That is so exciting.
Okay. And I'll send you all over the links. It's gonna be a
Okay.
lot of links. Okay, so give me
Okay.
a little while and I'll get them together. Okay.
I'm
Um,
excited, girl.
yeah, it's gonna be great. Like I said, just listen to them. You don't have to do like wildly active digging. Okay, that your higher self and your higher awareness and these mentors are gonna lead and guide you towards what you need. Cool.
The
If you want to do
OCD
this, you
would
don't
just
have
make
to.
me dive in.
Yeah,
No, the OCD. You know what? I have been searching 2 years trying to find somebody like you that could give me some kind of direction.
specific answer.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
telling me, oh, you have this ability and you have that one,
Yeah.
but
And you're like,
tell
what am I
me
supposed to
how
do
to
with
ground them.
that? Yeah. In the 3D, like what am I supposed to do
Yeah.
exactly? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Um, okay, so okay, last thing your higher self wants me to say here too, with the herbs, because that does sound like something you're gonna keep going down, is you could get physical herbs. You don't have to do it with physical herbs though, but anytime that you want to learn the DNA healing that a certain herb or a plant has, you can either meditate with that plant or you can meditate with it in the ethers. It doesn't have to be looking at a picture of a plant like on Google.
Okay.
That will definitely help before you go kind of into the meditation, right? And then
Okay.
asking the spirit of that plant to encode into that encyclopedia that you have in the energetic structuring that it has and what it can help you heal other people with. And the plant will tell you as well. And then you'll start to be able to, and that's cool because you'll start to be able to hear plants more clearly on the 3D plane as well. Like you'll
Oh,
hear
let's do
birches
that.
and trees and flowers and all these different things. So
Yeah,
it's a form of plant channeling.
that is cool. That
Yes.
is really
Okay.
cool.
She can help you go in and have a conversation with her, okay, because she can help you open up your clairaudient abilities and your clairsentient abilities, your claircognizant abilities, so that when you do go sit down to do this work, you'll be able to hear the information a lot clearer.
She didn't by chance give you a name, did she?
She didn't. Sometimes they do, and then sometimes they don't. Sometimes the reasons they don't is because they want you to come in there and ask.
So how do you do that? I mean, I meditate daily, and
Mhm.
whenever I go to bed, I have earbuds in. I listen to frequency music every night whenever I'm sleeping. But how do you connect to somebody you don't know?
Yes. Okay. So because she gave us that imagery at the beginning, one, anytime that you want to connect with something and you it's like an etheric type of being or like your higher self or like your inner child or inner children, even if it's a lake or a plant or whatever it is, okay, if you can imagine them as a human being, even if they don't actually look like that, like their true form, it at least gives you some type of like tangible way to see them. So always ask for them to come to you in their human form first.
Okay.
And it's going to help your central nervous system feel safer too. Okay. Even if it's like a cosmic galactic entity being, okay, come to me as a
Yeah.
human first. Okay. So when you go to sit in meditation, you can envision that there is kind of like this lavender field or a
Mm-hmm.
field full of herbs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And a woman that is out in this field and she's picking kind of out this lavender. And there's like this farm barn house in the background over here. Okay. So we're going
Okay.
to pull up that imagery and then ask her, hey, can you come forward and come speak to me? I would love to know what your name is or what type of messages that you have for me, or how can we get started with these spiritual gifts? um, I would go on Google and I would type in 1800s. Let me see what your higher self is saying. Like woman from the 1800s.
Okay.
She's not going to look like that exactly. Okay. But if you can grab
Okay.
a hold of some type of depiction in your mind, then she can show you what she actually looks like.
Okay.
So we want to give our subconscious and our imagination something to like kind of grab a hold of
Yeah.
while we're
Yeah.
in here.
Because it's touch, feel, hear, see, right? To trust. So yeah.
Well, and I don't see images. I'm just going to tell you that I don't see images. I actually feel images instead. So, whatever your perception abilities are, just know that it's not always just about sight. Sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's like hearing, sometimes like there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret information coming in. But envisioning her kind of like in that field, even if you're just feeling it, Okay,
Yes.
what does the lavender smell like? What do the herbs smell like? Okay, are there trees around? Is there, is this not like we want to try to make it as real as possible, even if that means that you are co-creating the space with her.
Mhm.
It'll be the bridge waypoint.
Okay.
Okay. And then just ask
Yeah.
her what her name is and trust whatever comes through too. Sometimes they'll be giving us real human. She is a human. Okay, she is a human. But sometimes when I'm working with cosmic beings, they're like, call me Frank. Okay, because sometimes we can't even pronounce what their name is.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
That
sometimes,
makes sense.
yeah. So sometimes, like, if she gives you some type of like, oh, my name's Cassie. Okay. They'd be like, okay. And then she'll eventually tell you, like, oh, no, it's this. Okay. Oh, we just want to be able to open the window. And if that takes some more simplistic methodologies to kind of like open those connections, that's okay too. And remind your inner children when you go in to meet her that she's a human.
Okay.
And when you go in to meet that Syrian guide,
Mm-hmm.
okay, ask them to come forward as a human.
Okay.
So it doesn't scare your inner children.
Okay.
But start with her first
Yeah.
before you start trying, because that Syrian mentor is like deeper in your Akashic record. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to access them.
Okay.
Start with her because she's from Earth. Okay. Yes. Okay.
The weird parts of me from.
But also me sending you these activations,
Okay.
that's going to help you be able to hear her more clearly
Okay.
and to be able to connect as well. It's gonna blast open your channels because you have DNA that has not been compatible with your human. That's why all this stuff hasn't come in yet. And so us having this session and conversation today, and then you listening to these things, it's going to blast all that stuff open.
Sweet.
Yes.
I
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
I like
And just keep reminding your inner children this gift has nothing to do with seeing star beings. And even if star beings do come through, you can't see them until I see them first, and then I let you see them.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Yeah, I totally get it. I want to see them. I want to see them.
Well, you can,
You know?
and you just give
Yeah.
yourself permission too. Like sometimes our inner children will block us from things.
Yeah.
Okay, so say, I just want to see them.
Yeah. Just let me see them.
Just let me see them.
You haven't got to see them. Let me
Yes.
see.
Yes. Okay.
I do have a question. Do you offer classes?
What kind of classes?
I don't know.
I have a quantum evolution academy,
Okay.
and that is where I help people, one, integrate their human with their multidimensional self. That looks like healing your central nervous system, processing your emotions, working on your self-concept, healing your inner children, working on your chakras. Once we get through that portion of the academy, then we start working on the ethereal things, like working on Akashic records and parallel lives, how to access your own records, but how to access others, how to get in contact with different incarnations, how to pull through different mentors and teachers and guides from different places and spaces, how to work with other people like clients or family members or friends. It's kind of a well-rounded program for your human and multidimensional self. So I do have that. But then I do also offer private mentorship as well. So if you want to work privately and like really dig in there, I do that as well.
I don't think you understand. I'm ready to know, right? It's been a very long, excruciating 2 years not being able to, it's there. It's just a fingertip away. You just can't reach it. Why the hell can't you reach it? That's like the way I have felt all this time. It's like I know it's there.
I do. Are you wanting to get into your soul mission and then have that come to full totality and really just blast open the doors of multidimensionality? Yeah. Okay. We just really want to push forward with that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I do offer, obviously I do Akashic record sessions, and we could do a group of Akashic record sessions together. But then I do offer a more longer term mentorship program, which is about 4 months long. And that's a very intensive program. This is where we are going to go through all of your inner child and your teenage trauma at the same time. Because in order for you to access these higher realms and these higher facets of self, human trauma and human PTSD is very heavy and dense and clogs up your channels. And when you do heal them, then you are able to learn how to heal other timelines. That gives you the tools and resources to be able to do that. Yes. Because you're teaching yourself how to timeline jump and how to repair timelines. And it's so much easier when you learn how to do that with your inner children and teens first, because then it's more tangible and it's more relevant and it helps your human in this incarnation. And then all of a sudden you can do it with the others very easily.
Yeah. That's what I want. I don't want to, I'm not one to just, okay, so I'm going to go to school for 15 years, you know, and then I want to do it. I want it now.
Okay,
I guess in a greedy kind of a way.
No.
I mean, I'm not a greedy person, but it's kind of like, okay, I've waited 2 years. I don't want to wait anymore. Because I tell my spirit guides this all the time. I was like, what are you waiting for? I mean, come on. I have devoted 2 years to you. Do something. Let me know that what I'm doing is just not a big waste. And then you popped up. So here you are.
It's a lot easier when we have a guide and a mentor who's been there, done that, and knows the processes and the safe ways to do it too, because there are some ways that can really be detrimental as well. Like if we're accelerating too quickly or we're having too much consciousness expansion too fast, like, you know what it means to have paradigms of truth breaking down inside of you, and then everything, loss of tower moments, sometimes spiritual psychosis. There's a lot of things that can happen. Okay, and I'm not saying that to scare you, because you understand what I'm talking about, right? Like right, because you've experienced that. So we want to do it in a safe capacity, and you, even if you don't work with me, you'll figure it out. You are very much tapped into a lot of your multidimensionality. But it is nice when somebody's holding your hand while you're going through that. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So yes. Okay. Yeah. I do have to run now because I do have to go pick up my son from school. But I can send you information about the mentorship program, the private mentorship program, and then also the Quantum Evolution Academy, if that's something that you are interested in, because it's not just the academy in and of itself. It's also a lot of community with others, with the students. And so it's kind of just, what are you needing in this place and space right now? But we can talk about that further. I can contact you.
Okay, absolutely.
And send you some voice notes. Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so very much. And I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to it.
Yeah. That's great. Yes. I'm going to send you your oracle cards and your crystal grid, and then I'll send you the replay. I'm going to send you all these links. I will speak further with you about the mentorship as well. And I'm glad that we were able to make a lot of connections today, because I could see you had a lot of questions about a lot of different things.
It's just no.
No, and they all connected in with one. Like all of the things that you were talking about, the reason they're all on the precipice, and it seems like it's so much, it's not. It's everything interconnects with one another, and you know that they do. Yeah. And so that's why you're like, okay, where is the key? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I've even called the little elf. Hey, bring me that key back.
Yeah. You're right. Yes. Unbind me from this incarnation. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
I'll reach out to you today or tomorrow about the mentorship.
Okay. Sounds great. I look forward to it.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon, Christy. Bye.
Bye. Bye.